In the Young Americans period, Bowie steps out of the rock world and tries to adopt a soul stance. On the one hand, it is easy. Rock and soul developed simultaneously and shared a lot of elements. On the other hand, there were elements in which there were opposites, and the switch from one to the other was therefore an act of transformation. One of those elements was the perception of the relationship between the individual and the community. Rock regarded every person as a separate entity, a world unto itself, and rock singers were therefore expected to pose a unique, self-centered figure, singing against the world. Soul, on the other hand, regarded the individual as always being part of a bigger whole. A soul performance is a call and response affair between the soloist and the choir, which ideally includes the audience, in which the soloist breaks away from the pack to say his word, but always returns back into the fold, always remaining part of the bigger communal world. While rock outfits aspire to be autonomous units, soul artists were usually part of labels that acted as a loving community. Motown and Stax, the two labels that ruled soul music in the 60s, set the formula in which the label's writers would write for all the singers and groups, the label's musicians played with all of them, and the label's producers produced. It gave the label a cohesive trademark sound, but the artists could still stand out in their distinctive style. In the 70s, the same formula was adopted by Philadelphia International, a label that, after 1972, took over the popular side of soul and became a hit machine. When Bowie wanted to break out of the isolation of rock and adopt a communal, soulful stance, he came to record in Philadelphia. Not that rock didn't believe in the power of communal feelings. In the 60s, after all, the dream of rock was to turn humankind into one harmonious and loving community. But that's precisely the difference. While soul regarded us all as belonging to a community to begin with, rock regards us all as alienated and needing to take action to come together. Many of Bowie's early records expressed a desire to escape alienation and be swallowed by a bigger whole. In Space Oddity, Major Tom escapes his old world, loses himself in a floating bliss, and feels happy for a while, but then drifts away on that bliss, becoming even more alienated than before. This story became the blueprint for most of his subsequent creations, which showed alienated figures who managed to step out of their world, find temporary happiness within a community of similar individuals, but always end up even more alienated. The rock paradigm, then, failed to provide sustained happiness. Can he find a better answer in soul? The Young Americans album inverts the worldview of Bowie's previous albums. Instead of stepping out of himself to find love and community, he tries to see them as innate to his humanity, and looks inwards to find them. Can You Hear Me is the key track here, its name lifted straight out of Space Oddity, straight from the moment when Major Tom loses all connection with the human race. If Space Oddity was the blueprint for all his subsequent records, and thus to a failed paradigm, then the answer should be to invert the outlook of Space Oddity, and maybe find the connection again.
Once we were lovers, can they understand? Closer than others, I was yours. I was your man. Don't talk of heartaches. Ooh, I remember them all. And I'm checking you out one day to see if I'm thinking it all.
Here, then, we do not start from a situation where everyone is isolated and alienated, but the initial state is rather of love and unity. Once we were lovers. This is not the first Bowie record to reminisce about a past love. Recall Letter to Hermione and An Occasional Dream, but in these previous tracks, this love is already lost, and it only strengthens the feeling that our basic state is isolation, and love is merely a fleeting thing. Here, The singer is still in a relationship with his loved one, but the initial flame has gone. So he is asking himself, is the love completely dead and the relationship is just a sham? Or is there still a spark that can be rekindled?
Can you hear me? Can you feel me inside? Show your love. Take it and right. Take it and right.
No, it isn't a sham. There is a deeper kind of love, beyond the initial infatuation. In Space Oddity, the line "Can you hear me?" comes as Major Tom loses contact, and just after he bids a sad goodbye to his wife, which he will never see again. Here, it comes as the singer is trying to reconnect with his spouse on a deeper level. If we open up to each other, sings Bowie, and let the other enter deeply into our soul, then we can find a more solid kind of love. We are seeing Bowie maturing here. His previous perception of love as a brief and powerful infatuation was a very rock and roll thing, while here he speaks like a soul man. Generally, rock and roll was aimed at teenagers, and soul at those who were older. But he doesn't go all the way to an adult point of view regarding love as a long-term partnership. He is still thinking of love in idealistic terms, in terms of a soul fusion.
There's been many others, so many times. 62 cities, and what do I find? I want love so bad. I want you most of all. You know it's hard to take it from anyone. It's hard to fall.
In the early 70s, Bowie was famously engaged in an open marriage with Angie, a life partnership without fidelity. It fit in perfectly with his conviction that love doesn't last, so there's no point in remaining faithful to anyone. Now, all of a sudden, a new theme enters his work, a theme which we will encounter again in his future albums. Wanting a real marriage, a wife that is an emotional and spiritual anchor. In the chorus he said you have to take it in right, open yourself up and take someone in order to have real love. But he realizes that it is harder to take it from anyone. This is not the kind of love that you can find easily, but only from a certain type of soul. Now, his lifestyle of going around from woman to woman, from city to city, feels empty. On a more philosophical level, Bowie is beginning to turn away from his cha-cha-cha-changes lifestyle, from his belief that he should always move on, never remain part of any community. He hopped around between 60 new cities, and what did he find? That he needs more stability, needs to be part of the community. Moreover, he is also turning away from his Nietzschean Superman ideal, the belief that he has to be a heroic, larger-than-life figure. We see it in Fame, and he hints at it here as well, in a sentence that is only implied. The bigger you are. So Bowie is now yearning to be not a messiah to other people, not a homo superior, not a star who betrays his fans and leaves them behind as he goes after the new experience, but part of a community. And as he falls back into the chorus, the choir is there to catch him, embrace him, complete his sentences for him, and make him part of a bigger whole. Carried away by this newfound experience of unity, Bowie gets into the ecstasy of call and response, and by the end of the record, he is completely immersed.
Can you hear me calling? Can don't you take it? Why don't you take it? Take it in a right to your heart.